Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back. So often I get a lot of questions from the community asking me what are some of my favorite finance related books that are helping me on my journey towards financial independence, retire early. So today I thought I'd talk about 3 books in particular and how they have helped me develop a better mindset when it comes to investing and saving money. And in particular, I'll talk about one concept from each book that I found interesting and has influenced me personally. So this should be a very interesting video, and without further ado, let's jump in. So first on the list is a book that I'm sure a lot of you have heard of already, and that is the classic Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Now this is one of the classics that in my opinion does a really good job of helping you develop a good mindset when it comes to money. And what I mean by that is that one of the most interesting topics in this book revolves around redefining the idea of what is an asset and what is a liability. So the traditional accounting definition is that anything that you own that has value is considered an asset, and anything that you owe, like debt for example, is considered a liability. Now this definition really works well for the majority of circumstances. However, in Rich Dad Poor Dad, Kiyosaki redefines these terms into something that is a little bit more helpful and more practical, I feel like. So Kiyosaki says that an asset is anything that puts money into your pocket, and a liability is anything that takes money out of your pocket. So now at first glance, this definition might not seem all that different from the accounting definition that I just told you, but let me just give you an example that illustrates the difference. So for example, if you buy an expensive car, then logically you'd have to spend money to maintain it, you'd have to buy gas, you'd have to pay for insurance. There's all kind of added costs when it comes to maintaining an expensive car. So car ownership really takes money out of your pocket. But according to the accounting definition, though, a car is an asset, right? So especially if you buy an expensive car, then that's something that's really valuable that you own. So, according to accounting, that is an asset. But in Kiyosaki's definition, it's actually a liability because it takes money out of your pocket. So Kiyosaki assets are things like stocks, real estate, or other investments that can grow over time and put money into your pocket. Now, the main lesson of this book is to illustrate how rich people acquire Kiyosaki assets and poor people acquire Kiyosaki liabilities. And this concept kind of blew my mind the first time I read it, to be honest. I mean, this is not something that is immediately obvious unless you've spent a lot of time studying personal finance and investing. So, once you understand it though, it's highly intuitive. So that's Rich Dad Poor Dad, and there's a lot of other gems in the book, so I highly recommend you read it. It's not that long. So yeah, that's Rich Dad Poor Dad. Anyways, moving on. Book number 2 is You're a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincaro. So she has another book though called You're a Badass, but I like this one a little bit more just because it deals with money specifically, right? So the main thing I found interesting in this book though is an analogy that the author presented. So pretend you're trying to chase after someone that you have a crush on, and let's say that you're really trying to pursue something long-term with that person and not just, like a pump and dump. So while you're in the pursuit of that person, let's just say that instead of praising them and admitting that you admire them, instead you badmouth them and you say mean things about them in front of other people. And let's say you go even as far as calling them the roots of all evil. So how likely do you think that that person will reciprocate your love? Probably not very likely, right? So you get what I'm getting at here. The person that you're trying to pursue after is money. And if you don't have a good relationship with money, if you badmouth it and you secretly hate money, then you're not going to get very far. So the most stereotypical example of this is when you see someone driving an expensive car or a nicer car than you, or if you see someone living in a nicer house than you. So your first thought sometimes, I'm not saying that this is everybody, but a lot of people, their first thought is, oh, what an asshole. If that's what you subconsciously think of rich people, then you're gonna subconsciously sabotage yourself because you're gonna think, oh, if I become rich, then I'm gonna become like one of those assholes, right? So I don't want to become an asshole, I just want to be myself. Well, then being yourself just means that you never become rich. So as a famous philosopher once said, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. So yeah, this book, at least for me, it helped a lot in terms of establishing a healthier mindset around money. So I can't give any financial advice, obviously, because I'm not a financial advisor, but recommending a book I can definitely do. And I do recommend You're a Badass at Making Money. Anyways, moving on. last book number 3, is Doing Good Better by William McAskill. And this one might be a little bit unexpected because it's not quote-unquote a finance book, but the topic does revolve around a concept that I think is very important and very interesting called effective altruism. So in case you don't know what it is, in the quickest way I can explain it, it's basically answering the question of how do we maximize the good that we do to society given a limited amount of time and limited amount of resources. So for example, if you volunteer at a soup kitchen for 8 hours every weekend, you might be able to help out, let's say, 100 people. However, let's say you also have a decent paying job and you decide to work overtime for an extra 8 hours a week, and then you donated all of those income, all that income to a charity. Then you could potentially help out more than just 100 people, right? So I'm not saying that you should never volunteer at a soup kitchen. All I'm asking is that, is there a better way to help out more people given your limited amount of time and resources? And the answer might actually surprise you, because the example that's given in the book shows that not all forms of charity are actually equal. So it revolves around this thing called the play pump. Now, essentially, this is sort of like a playground merry-go-round thing that kids can push around in a circle, and it also doubles as a water pump. So it's supposed to be installed in poor communities in Africa where access to clean drinkable water is an issue. So it's a great concept in theory. However, what they found that is a lot of kids don't actually want to play around with that thing because it's hard to push, right? Because it's actually a water pump. So the parents would end up actually pushing the thing themselves, and that's actually less efficient than just your regular old hand pump. So essentially this campaign spent millions and millions of dollars building these things, and it actually ended up making people's lives worse because it increased the workload that people had to do to get water. So this was an example where altruism was not effective. And why am I talking about this though? What does this have to do with financial independence? Well, I just think that this book kind of puts things into perspective, right? Because let's say if you're rich, let's say if you're a billionaire, then you can snap your fingers and in an instant you can help out more people compared to someone who's volunteering at a soup kitchen for like 10 years. You know, people often ask me, why do I want financial independence so badly? And this is one of the reasons, right? Effective altruism. So once I attain a position of power, then I could use that power to effectively help out more people, right? So the fact is that if you're financially struggling and you're making like 30K a year, there's only so much you can do, right? You can donate a very sizable proportion of your salary, but there's only so much you can do because at the end of the day, you gotta eat too. So in my opinion, donating to charity when you're financially struggling yourself, it's like if you see someone stuck in a hole with no ladder and then you jump into the hole yourself to try and help them. Now you're both stuck in the hole, right? That's not gonna work. So you're not helping anyone in that case. So there's a reason why if a plane is going down, they tell you to put the oxygen mask on yourself before you help out anyone else, right? Before you even help out your kids. And the reason is that because if you pass out due to lack of oxygen and your kid doesn't have the oxygen mask on themselves because they don't know how to put it on, well then you might both die, right? At least if for some reason you were able to put the oxygen mask on yourself first, and for some reason you're not able to get your kids on time and then they die, you know, God forbid, knock on wood. But at least in that case, it's still better than the first scenario where, you know, both of you die. So yeah, that's why I'm pursuing financial independence, and really is because I'm trying to put the oxygen mask on myself first, right? So if you're watching this and you're financially struggling, don't worry, wait your turn, okay? Let me get my mask on myself first. So yeah, I highly recommend Doing Good Better. It's a very good book and really puts things into perspective. Anyways, the video is getting a little long, so I'll leave it here. Be sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video and consider subscribing if you like the series. Be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, links down below in the description as always. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.